Hey, how are you? This is Pat. I'm talking fitness with Andrew Wolf. We're keeping our masks on, so we're a little closer than our normal 6-foot range. Andrew, how are you?
Doing great today. Feeling good.
Good.
How are you?
Are you smiling underneath there? Or
There's
just
a
looking
smile. You
angry?
can see usually the eye squint goes with a smile.
I've got the eye of the tiger and the mouth of a lion. I don't know what that means right now. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and your fitness practice.
Andrew Wolf, 45 years old. Played some high school football, sports growing up as a kid my whole life, mainly.
Where'd you go to high school?
Well, I went to Bayside High School in Queens.
Oh, yeah.
And then I wound up transferring to Cardozo. It was a bit of a long story, but Bayside had a football team.
So are you from Bayside area?
Yeah.
Yeah, a good friend of mine is
Yeah.
from Beechhurst.
Similar area.
Yeah. He went to Bayside for 2 years and then went to Holy Family. Not Holy Family,
Yeah.
Holy Cross.
Bayside was going through a bit of a transitional period, so there was people kind of not staying there, unfortunately. But it was a good school for a while. It had a good football team. I personally wasn't zoned for that school. I went there just to play football. And then all my friends were at a different school, and long story short, the friends won over football for me at that time, which, looking back at it, not sure if it was a mistake or not, but...
How much do you weigh?
Right now, I'm probably about 230 pounds.
And how much did you, when you were in your, I guess, peakest physical condition, how much did you weigh?
About 240.
240.
245.
So you could have played a good nose guard.
Well, that was, the 245 was later in life. In my younger high school years, I probably capped out at about 185.
I actually, right now, I weigh the same as I weighed in high school right now. I'm actually a little bit lighter.
That's great.
Yeah, but I think that's probably because of my knee injuries. I can't do a lot of quad. So yeah, once again, Andrew just said he's 45 years old, and if you've been dealing with me, I always talk about these 7-year age increments that I feel that men, you age, you got year 7 to 14, 14 to 21. But what I really notice is a difference between years when you're 42 and 49. In your 40s is kind of when you leave being like the athletic young man, and then you begin your process of being an aging man. Like you start getting different types of injuries.
Yeah, it was a lot of factors involved in that equation too, because for a lot of people it depends when they started their exercise or sports. Some people didn't really play sports and started exercising specifically with weights later in life.
Right.
So for people like me and you, I started lifting weights seriously at about 15 years old.
Right, yeah.
So now at 45, I have 30 years, even though I'll say maybe 15 to 20, I wasn't really lifting hard, but I was in the gym.
Right.
But from 20 to 45, it was really going pretty hard. So I look at it more of a bit, people would say 45 isn't old, and I don't think 45 is old or 50,
No.
But in the sense of where you started and how your training intensity has been, that is going to have an impact on the effect on your body. Where I have some clients in their middle to late 50s that are still making really great progress in terms of appearance changes and strength improvements, but they didn't start lifting weights until they were in their early 50s. So the adaptation phase is different for them because they never really had the stimulus before. So
all right, cool. That's really interesting. So I just I'm going to get right back to that. Introducing Andrew Wolf. If you got another 5 minutes, hang out with us. So we'll be on the other side of this. Thanks a lot. See you when you press play again, or when you click on us on Instagram. See you soon. Cool. I just want to rephrase this, and that was a really good topic. What I wanted to talk about is it too late? The benefits, the gains. Like some people say, oh, you got to start this when you're a kid, otherwise. My wife's sister was saying that if you don't start working out as a kid, you're never going to get all those benefits that you thought you were going to get.
Right.
So cool. So I'm going to talk about that.
Okay.
Hey, we're back. It's Talking Fitness with Pat and Andrew Wolf. Andrew before talked about he's 45 years old. I'm 52 years old. We're talking my demographic right now is kind of the aging athlete, people over 40 years old. Who are finding that life gets a little bit, your workouts get a little more complicated as you age and as you get things called arthritis and tendinitis.
Any itis of any kind.
The itis is bad.
Don't want any of them.
But what you said is, depending upon what you could start, can you start later in life and still get the results?
Yes, but they're not going to be as dramatic for one aspect only, and that's really recovery. When you start in your teens and 20s, the body, I mean, you could literally go day after day
Right.
after day and train to failure, train with heavier weights, you know, high intensity, break the muscles down, bounce back the next day, and that the process just happens quicker where when you get into that phase that later in life and you want to try to build muscle, which you can, it's just going to take longer because you have to space out the exercise in a sense where if you do a heavier workout or two and it's pretty close to failure or with some heavier weights, you know, the older body just doesn't recover as quick as the younger body.
That's
That's the biggest factor as we age. You know, people always say that, you know, and my 60-year-old clients don't like when I say I'm older at 45,
Right, yeah.
but, and again, I don't consider myself older. I talk about in terms of how many years I've
You're not a
trained.
kid anymore.
Exactly, 45, you know, maybe I like to think is halfway point, hopefully. You know, but again, the big X factor in the whole equation of improvements at 20 or 50 is the body's ability to recover.
Mhm.
And again, that younger body just recovers quicker. You know, you can almost, the body can almost, besides handle more workload in the gym, the body could also almost handle more food.
Right.
You know, so
At
it's the
that age.
combination
Yeah.
of being
Also
able,
collagen, the way your body's just
yeah,
made and
like,
everything like that.
well, that too, because someone in their maybe, you know, early mid-50s, you know, besides the factor of, you know, there's injury potential.
Right.
In terms of, not saying massive injury, but something like a tendonitis that
Tendon,
pops
yeah.
up, you know. And that's a little bit, you know, you're doing some repetitive motions, you kind of get stronger in certain exercises, and next thing you know, something pops up in the elbow or something pops up in your shoulder, which is always gonna derail the routine, you know, because, as you train for a long time, you realize, you know, these certain injuries that you kind of swept under the rug as a younger person are not, they're serious in a sense where they can really take you out of the gym, which is the number one problem where you're not gonna make results. If you're injured and you can't work out, there goes the whole routine, so.
So well, the thing, and I was talking with John yesterday about this, or 2 days ago, and we were saying the issue of pushing through pain in your workouts.
Right.
And because, I mean, a part of it, there's, if you ever
There's
read the-
different kind, before we go, there's
Okay.
different kinds of pain.
Right.
If I'm doing a leg press
Uh-huh.
and I have pain burning in my quads,
Right.
that's not really pain.
That's a result of,
Right.
or,
If I'm doing a leg press and I have pain on like my kneecap,
which will,
that's a problem.
bad, yeah.
So there's different kind, you know, I think people have to understand different kind, I don't wanna sound like no pain, no gain, meaning like
Right.
if your legs are burning, you know, that you're doing the right thing. I mean, you wanna feel the muscle that's working.
Uh-huh.
So a burning sensation or a pump feeling in the legs is a good thing. If the end of a leg exercise or a leg press or a squat and you're feeling pain on your knees or on your kneecaps, that's a totally different kind of pain.
What I usually
You
tell
know?
people is that if you have pain in a general area while, you know, during the exercise, it's usually, that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, you have pain in a general area like a bruising pain after workouts, that's okay. But it's when you have that stabbing pain and like a sharp pain and a succinct small point,
Right.
that's
That's something to start to pay attention to.
Yeah. So before we get back, I want to say what we talked about is rest and how important that is for the aging athlete or for people that aren't exactly 24 any longer. What we do, I know
That's
Andrew.
good. Yeah, I'm sorry. There's also some interesting new, I guess you want to say, studies coming out about how to manage those type
Yeah.
of small injuries.
So what I was, that's what I was going to get into. So not only do we do personal training if you're looking to train with Andrew or me or anybody else, but there's fitness coaching, which is maybe you might only do one session a week, but you're tethered to your trainer to make sure that he's coaching you to take the right steps in order to heal properly and then to grow properly.
Right.
And so you don't want to just beat your body to a pulp at the gym.
No.
Although I've been guilty of it.
We all do it. It's normal on some level, but again, speaking about the age factor, as you get older, you have to be able to manage that a lot better because one workout, killing yourself and getting super sore isn't necessarily going to make the difference. It's the long, sustained,
Right.
not getting injured, being consistent, progressing gradually, not thinking, okay, this one workout today is going to make me improve. To be honest with you, a lot of times those overly intense workouts, again, for the older athlete or older
Uh-huh.
client, can actually start the breaking down process.
Yeah, yeah.
Where they no longer recover between workouts, and then they become injured, exhausted, or just turned off to exercise
Yeah,
because
that's-
they're not recovering properly.
All right, so the thing we're talking about, actually, I guess the main word is hypertrophy or
Yeah.
hypertrophy.
Right.
We're going to be, to give us a second here. We want to keep all these videos under 5 minutes so we don't bore people. If you're interested, just stay tuned, and we'll be right back with you. Thanks. All right. I know it sounds like it's like, you know, regular TV.
Right.
Fitness coaching, but I wanted to write the notes. So let's get back on to hypertrophy.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that with that. And then I'm gonna go. What would you consider your our last answer?
Okay.
All right, we're back talking fitness with Pat. I have a pen and paper because I'm gonna take some notes because Andrew said a few things that intrigued me, and then he said more things that intrigued me, and I forgot the original things that intrigued me, and so. But the main thing I think we're talking about is hypertrophy. It's hypertrophy is how it's spelled. How it's pronounced,
It's up for debate.
Yeah, I definitely have said hypertrophy at times, although it's hypertrophy or whatever.
We get the idea between the variations.
Andrew, tell us all about it. Hypertrophy.
Well, basically that's just breaking the muscle down. So
DOMS.
exactly.
DOMS
Which
is
means a lot of
delayed.
times you don't feel your soreness even until the day, not the next day, but the day after. And that's a delayed effect of basically working your muscles to the point where they get these very small little micro tears from the high resistance exercise intensity, and then over time through rest and food, it basically heals itself and builds itself back a little bit stronger, ready to handle a little more workload, and then it's basically the layering effect of that over and over and over again. Not saying that doesn't mean you necessarily have to get debilitatingly sore to get an effect, but this depends. If your goal is to get bigger and gain muscle,
Well, let's talk about
Getting sore is
gaining
part
muscle.
of it.
Like a lot of my demographic, as I said before, are people over 40 years old. I know
Right.
your demographic is pretty much the same.
yeah.
So, how about now? Here's the thing: working out when you're sore. And what I want to get into is, well, as we get older, a lot of us have overuse injuries.
Right.
I do too, and I
Yeah.
know that I teach a lot of classes, and I have tendinitis.
Right.
My question is, do you think it's better? And if you're familiar with this, you'll know what I'm talking about. Is back in the day in the 90s. When you came in, you did back and bis,
Right.
you did tris and bis,
Yeah.
or chest and whatever. You split up. You either did 2 body parts a day.
Yeah.
Tell
There's a
us.
million variations you could do. You could focus on one body part, chest day, back day, legs day.
I felt I got my best results for strength doing that.
Yeah, and again, I feel like we keep going back to this, but
Uh-huh.
at 20 years old, you can go to the gym at a high intensity 5 days a week and break that body up into parts.
So that's it, yeah.
So we're also kind of overlapping here and go, again, as we get older, can you train chest to failure, legs to failure, back to failure, shoulders to failure? Can you? Yes, but in my opinion, the way I like to do that is, let's say, and this is again talking about the 40, 50, 60-year-old person, while you're gonna train your chest, back, legs, etc. every week, really one of those you're gonna focus on hard. So let's say
So
1
you're
week
picking-
is your big chest week.
All
Chest
right.
gets 110%, legs get 75, and back gets 75.
So you're not working to exhaustion on every.
on every one.
You are. Or
You're not.
You're
Meaning
not.
on your big one of the weeks. So let's say this is your chest week.
Uh-huh.
You're still doing your legs and your back at a lower intensity. So let's say week 1, you do your big heavy chest workout, some heavier weights, go close if not to failure on a few exercises. Then you do your back and you do your legs also in the week, but they're down in the intensity department. They're also not 100. Then the following week I'll rotate. So then the next week I'll do big back week.
All right, so listen to this. This might sound a little weird. Think about this, right? We have, if everyone, and we're doing split routines is what we're talking
Right.
about. You got, everyone puts bis and tris in, say, together, or that's considered something. Then you got your chest and back.
Right.
You got shoulders, you got legs. And right there, so that gives me 4 days out of the week. What I know is a lot of people say it's leg day. But then
Right.
there's arm day, chest day, back day. However, and I'm not one to talk because my legs are by far not jacked by any means, thanks to some knee injuries. But doesn't it seem like they're not getting the amount of treatment that they deserve? Or is it because legs use up so much energy that just 1 day for legs you need to recover?
Legs is a whole different animal, to be totally honest with you. Anyone that's trained legs hard for a long time with heavy weights, understand legs have a whole different threshold than the rest of the body. Meaning when you're doing a heavy chest workout
Right.
or a heavy back workout or you using a weight that maybe you can do 8 to 10 times, you know, maybe you're struggling at 6 or 7, you can force out 1 or 2 more, maybe your spotter gives you a little help on your last one and that's it. Meaning, when you start to struggle on the bench press, at 7, you're lucky if you get maybe 9, 10, possibly 11 with a little help. Legs have a whole different threshold of people that really train the legs with a serious intensity because legs struggle and they can do 6, 8, 10 more reps. Legs is a real, not just test, in my opinion, of strength and conditioning if you're doing something like high rep squats, but leg is also a test of will. Will is the X factor that a lot of people don't talk about in terms of strength and conditioning. And one thing I learned about legs teaches you will because legs have a whole different strength, I don't want to say pain, but a whole different threshold in terms of when you struggle and when you fail. That's a much bigger window compared to a lot of the upper body exercises.
2 things about that. I heard once, which I don't believe is true, but I had heard years ago, and someone else may have heard that you need to do 20 reps on everything with legs for it to be beneficial. And then the other thing was just, I read this book, Sapiens, which is really cool. And they talk about like, birds fly. Every animal has its specialty in athleticism.
Right.
And for human beings, you know what that is?
Legs.
Well, it is legs, but it's walking.
Oh, right, yeah.
It's that human beings are made to walk. We can walk for days on end if necessary.
Yep.
That's our way. We're not that great at running.
Right.
We obviously can't fly.
Right.
Rolling, they tried it. It didn't work out so well. But if we're left alone.
Right. Calves and actually forearms, believe it or not, from the ability for people's
Well, you're using your forearms all day long. Yeah.
So you got to, people that were in, I guess, going back in time, hunters and
hunters and
you
gatherers.
basically had to work every single day, and a lot of that workload was walking and building stuff with your hands. It's like even like a lot of modern day kind of blue collar workers. I mean,
Well, if you ever
they got strong hands.
Yeah.
Even the old strong men back in the days was not a guy deadlifting 800 pounds. It was guys, bending monkey wrenches. And it sounds corny, but if you go back to like Popeye, the cartoon, it was the forearm.
Right.
And a lot of that is not necessarily gym work. It was from manual labor.
So that was like my dad was one of those guys
yeah.
who always had huge forearms.
They're carrying
and
like
huge hands.
3-inch diameter pipes or logs or something, and the hands and the forearms, you shake one of these guys' hands and you're like, holy cow, he could have taken my arm off.
But let's getting off topics here, but I live in the city, I take the subway. Around 3 o'clock in the afternoon is usually when the union construction workers are getting off. And I look across and I see these guys and I look at their hands.
Yeah.
And their hands are just huge. And I say to myself, I'm like, well, I'm still using my hands every day, but my hands are nowhere near, or my forearms are nowhere near from someone who's constantly grabbing and.
That's a different level. That's just, 100,000 reps is what they're doing, and you can't really duplicate that.
Well, it brings it to an interesting topic, but I'll just end this. What I just started doing with a lot of my, I teach, body boot camp classes. I've been using a football.
Okay.
And holding onto it.
Yeah.
Just to work out my hands and forearms. I don't know. I'll let you know what the result is in 5 to 10 weeks, but I think there's going to be some sort of benefit to it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not to continue with that part of it a little bit, but the hands, the forearms, the wrist, but good old-fashioned grip is probably the single most not used part of modern day strength training. Between the use of straps and people not doing certain things, the grip will improve in almost every sport.
Right.
Having a good, strong grip will make a huge difference. Almost any exercise will have a big, strong difference. And honestly, another kind of interesting fact about grip strength is if you notice, not if you have a weak grip that needs to be improved, but if you actually feel like your grip strength is regressing, it's actually a negative health indicator.
Yeah, that would probably be
meaning like there might be an issue going on inside the body, an underlying issue. And I know for myself when I'm overtrained, I know a lot of people don't believe in overtraining, I do, but when I'm overtrained, one of the first things I know to go is my hands. Where I'm holding a bar or holding some dumbbells and I'm like, wow, I can barely hold this today. And that's actually an indicator for me to be like, you're tired, so.
All right, cool. Let's get back to a few of these things. We're going to talk about grip strength, the forearms, the muscles that are left out. Andrew is he's a big strength guy, so we'll talk about some strength exercises and some other things. So hopefully you stay with us for the next 5 minutes. Thanks a lot. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
Cool. So
It's
let's
good. You know, it's tough because you talk about one thing, and then one little other thing comes up, and it veers you off so quickly.
yeah,
you know?
you don't want to get too far
No,
off.
because then you're
and
talking
so-
about 4 different things at once.
Yeah.
But it just happens.
So let's talk about this. How about you're a blue collar guy? How do you fit in working out? Or what would you suggest for working out for like the blue collar guy? How,
Right.
would that sound like a decent
Yeah,
topic?
absolutely.
We just talk about it. Okay. And again, what about your favorite exercises? I'm gonna pop into that too.
Okay.
Into this one. Okay, cool. Hey, how are you? We're talking fitness with Pat. I'm with Andrew Wolf, personal trainer and fitness coach that I'm friends with and have worked with for a while. We were talking before, we mentioned about blue collar people that work with their hands and how
Manual labor people.
Yeah. So, should you have a different workout routine if you are someone that does manual labor as opposed to someone that is sedentary?
I don't actually personally think so, because I actually say, in my opinion, I think the person that's sedentary is actually worse off.
Yeah.
Like you would initially think the blue collar person is out there, you know, picking things up and carrying things and unloading trucks and building things, and they're gonna be more tired, and they should be a little more physically tired from that for obvious reasons, but not to the point where I'll say it's wipeout tired. And I would go as far as saying someone that is actually completely inactive, sitting at a desk, sitting at a computer all day, stiff, nothing's moving, no circulation is going on of any kind.
Let's say sitting's the new smoking is
Yeah, 100%. I would almost say there, it's harder for that person to get active than it is for, I would take a blue collar person, let's say coming in maybe with an 80% tank from being active during the day, than let's say someone that's coming in, maybe technically they haven't done anything all day, but their body is in like sleep mode. You know, it's like an inertia factor.
Yeah. You stay, an
Body's
object
in
can rest,
motion,
will
stay
stay
in
in
motion,
motion. Yeah,
body
body
in
rest.
motion stays in
So
motion.
that's interesting. So the thing, I guess what I'm saying is you got different ways of being tired. You have being tired from being so sedentary that you're exhausted, you don't want to do anything, and then you have tired from being so kinetic that you don't want to do anything.
Right.
But like, so I guess like my question is, if you are a guy that, you know, I have a lot of friends that from out in the Hamptons that own construction or
Yeah.
contractors, and they're, you know, in
Right.
our age demographic. I'm
Yeah.
a bit older than you, a little bit higher, but you know, they're like, geez, I work so much, and they're like, if I can't get the workout in the morning, I'm definitely not going to get it in the evening.
Right.
I mean, what do you have to say about that? I mean, is there a way to go about getting into shape if you're still working a lot during the day?
Yeah, it's gonna be a bit of a little more of a challenge, but I think a lot of people make the mistake that think if they don't work out for an hour, it's not effective.
Uh-huh.
Now, it helps having certain pieces of equipment out that you could use your body weight, you could use weights, but there's also certain pieces of equipment that can help kind of speed up the process. For example, we were using a bike the other day, the Rogue Echo bike.
Assault bike.
I mean, you can go on something like that. Not saying everyone has access to that at their home, but if your local gym has that, I mean, you can do a 5-minute intervals on there.
Yeah.
And come off of there, you're warm, you're hot, you already got some conditioning work. You can go focus on 1 or 2 maybe big compound movements, you know what I mean, for that workout. Maybe go do some bench press and some pull-ups.
That might be good. What we'll do is, you know, once we get done with this, why don't we take a walk around to like the little, I know Andrew's a huge advocate of this thing called the assault bike, or?
Yeah, my 2 favorite personal cardio machines are the Rogue Echo bike, it's the assault bike,
Uh-huh.
and the Concept 2 rower. I actually have a Concept 2 rower in my bedroom.
Do you really?
Yeah, I bought it on Craigslist right when the pandemic hit, and it was probably the best purchase I bought, and to this day is my single #1 favorite piece of fitness equipment out there. You know?
And do you have any lower back issues or anything like
None.
that?
I'll be honest with you, it's a no impact machine. So
Uh-huh.
unless you have an pre-existing back injury, the rower might not be comfortable for you.
Okay.
But if you don't really have a back injury, I can't really see how the rower could injure you if you have really bad form, you're on too high of a resistance, you know, you start off too fast. But the rower, what's great about the rower compared to any other cardio machine is it's a compound movement and
Right.
there's no impact. So I
Meaning,
mean,
no, there's not the
there's no
gravitational
pounding, you
impact
know,
of
like a
pounding.
stationary
Yeah,
bike,
yeah.
there's no impact. The stationary bike is the safest machine on the planet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was trying to think
So-
about some of the old different, machines that we've had in the past. And
Well,
things.
running is the thing that people always go to, and I'm not against running, you know.
However, I'm finding that thing at 50 years old. There's a lot of people hit their wall of running. Like I have a client that he ran 25 marathons, and then all of a sudden, 50 years old, like just
Well, like, yeah, that's
things
a-
will start eroding your
Listen.
knees, and I'm at the point right now at 52 years old where I have arthritis in my hip. I probably need a hip replacement. I'm trying to hold that off as long as possible because I know once I have the hip replacement, I can't run anymore.
Right.
So I want to be able to run again. So all I'm trying to do right now is to get my body in shape so I can run, maybe a few 5Ks this summer or something.
Right. But that's, I mean, my thing with running is there are some people that love to run.
Yeah,
That's their passion.
yeah.
They love nothing more, and doesn't have to be a nice day. It can be cold, sleeting, and all they want to do is be out in the park and running. I will never tell someone that loves to run and running is their passion not to run. But for some people that look at running as basically their only option of cardio exercise, that's, in my opinion, there are other options that are safer, no impact, and you can get a really good result off too. That depends. I used to think when my younger years you had to run as a part of being in shape. Running was not
Right.
optional. As I've gotten a little older and have some wear and tear on the body, and I've found some other machines in the gym that I can get some really great work on without putting my body through nearly the amount of stress that I have to do during running,
Okay.
especially being my weight.
Cool. Let me ask you this. So, all right, running. Getting all back to things. We're talking with Andrew, and I just had this bright idea that I think is bright. I don't know about the rest of you. Running is obviously a very repetitive motion. Okay, it's which can contribute to overuse injuries. Now, weightlifting, however, which I know you do heavy lifting.
Yeah.
Think about it this way. As we age, are we better off? Like everybody says, you should stop lifting the heavy weights, right?
Right.
And I'm wondering right now, as I'm getting older, maybe I should stop doing things that have 100 reps, and I should do things that have 5 to 10 reps that are going to be more efficient. Is it better to do 2 to 4 reps of an exercise than it is to do 20 reps at a lighter weight?
I don't think either one is necessarily wrong, but obviously to do 2 to 4 reps, you're gonna have to be using a much heavier weight than
Yeah.
you would be at 20.
Are you still doing workouts like that for yourself?
So, me personally, someone that has, again, 30 years of lifting weights under my belt, I have a different approach as being older. I think the heavier weights, and this is my opinion, certain people still like to lift heavy, and that's totally up to them. I feel really beat down after heavier weights, especially on the compound movement. On the heavy squats, heavy
All right.
deadlifts, cleans, like those kind of exercises. It takes me too long to get warmed up to be able to do those exercises, and then I find the post-workout effect of kind of really being exhausted, has a negative effect on the fact that I want to go to the gym, but I feel like I really should because I'm in a perpetual state of being broken down from those heavy compound movements. So my personal thing that I like to do as someone who still likes to do the squats and the deadlifts and the cleans, the old me used to come into the gym first and go straight to the squat rack. Maybe go on the bike 5 minutes, right to the squat rack, warm up my squat, and then there was multiple heavy sets of squats. Now, the person that has more mileage on the body, I'm a big person in terms of, I like to do my exercises, my compound exercises, but I do them last. So I'm a big pre-exhauster. So I'll do leg curl, leg extension, leg press,
And then you'll
lunge,
do the
stiff-legged deadlift. Do my squats last. Because I think there's still an important movement to do. I think you still get a great result from them.
When you're talking about lunges, though, are pretty multi, right? I mean, that's
They are, but it really-
multi-dimensional work exercise.
But there's nothing that compares to having a few 100 pounds sitting on your back. And even lunges, I agree with you. The lunges not done right or done too early in a workout can be hard on the knees, but I personally make sure lunges might come before squats. So I've already done 6 or 7 exercises. Then I'll probably finish with like lunges and squats. But again, this is all going back to base, and I find I get a great pump. I still get nice and sore from the exercises. I just don't have to put my body underneath that heavier, big compound movement where I have to put a borderline dangerous amount of weight on my back. So I'm a big pre-exhaust person in my senior years as a weightlifter. I feel like it's a much safer option.
Pre-exhausting was my, by the way, I don't know if this ever happens, see if you're taking your next boot camp class, but that was my way that if I ever had someone like the week before complain the class was too easy,
Yeah.
then what I would do is I'd pre-exhaust them. I'd start the class off,
Right.
I'd get them really quickly warmed up, and then I would do like 1 minute sets of things to get people like really, really blowing,
Right,
blowing
yeah.
hard with their cardio.
Yeah.
And then all they're trying to do after, if you really pre-exhaust them, all they're trying to do is catch up with. And it obviously it makes you feel like you do get a better workout because you're out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, for that reason, I think it's good to switch it up on the body. I also happen to think it's a little safer.
Yeah.
Because by the time you get to your bigger, more powerful exercises, you're pretty fatigued, you can't handle as much weight. But you still get the positive reaction of doing those exercises, but the muscles already are pretty taxed when you get there, so you don't have to demolish them with those exercises. You kind of go into those exercises already kind of pretty beat up, but like my thing was, if I could do X amount of weight fresh 20 times, and let's say I could do that weight 6 to 8 times pre-exhausted, I feel like that if I did it fresh again, I could still do that without actually having to do it, if that makes any sense.
Let me ask you this: I had a complaint. So sometimes with my classes, I'll get, and I know we got to end this segment, so we keep it within our 5 minutes. We'll come back to it though. Fast twitch, slow twitch fiber people. I have this theory, and there's no science behind it all, that fast twitch people at the end of the workout will have more energy than slow twitch people in a certain way. And now I guess we can talk about that on the other side. We'll bring it right back. Thanks for staying with us. Hopefully we kept that under 5 minutes. Catch us for our next 5 minute conversation with Andrew Wolf. All right, thanks. So I don't know. I have this thing that fast. So you're saying you're getting. What do you consider yourself, more of a fast twitch or slow twitch guy?
I'd like to think I'm kind of both, to be
Both?
honest with you. I'm
Okay.
pretty, I've done my high rep lifting, and I did that deadlifting competition,
Right.
and I'm kind of proud of that I still have the record for, which is,
All right, well, let's bring that up. We'll talk
Yeah.
about that. Wait,
Um,
fast twitch, slow twitch. I'm gonna write these down. Fast twitch, slow deadlift. Then my classes I'm gonna talk about. Anything else you want to talk about in there?
no, that's good.
Okay, cool. Hey, how are you? It's Pat. We're talking fitness with Andrew Wolf. While we were just discussing what we're going to discuss, I definitely consider myself a fast twitch athlete. You probably will notice that just watching me here. I'll be bouncing around a little. I'm not a very calm person kinetically. I'm always bouncing around. What do you consider yourself?
I like to think I'm pretty right in the middle.
A combination of the two?
I can do some good lower rep stuff, big time force stuff, and then also have a decent amount of muscle endurance at the same time. So,
I've had a thing with people that take my classes, and it seems to me that, and this is I guess a hypothesis where you have no scientific evidence at all. It seems the fast twitch people are slower starters, but they end up finishing strong.
right.
And then I know some of my slow twitch people, they start off and they go the whole way, but sometimes when I ask them to start doing, like, say, the fast twitch exercises at the end of the workout,
Right.
they're like, "Why, Jesus, why are you killing me like this?" and
Yeah.
all. If anyone, any input with that, I don't know if you have
I
any.
feel like the fast twitch carries over more, where if you can do fast twitch stuff, a lot of times, maybe not as well, but your slow twitch stuff gets a benefit from the fast twitch, where people that are the opposite, like I have people that say that go running, they can go run 6 miles.
Right.
On a Saturday, do a loop in Central
Yeah.
Park. You put them under a set of 15 rep, 20 rep squats, and they're ready to
Yeah.
hit the ground.
Yeah.
Where the person that maybe does the faster twitch stuff still has a little more in the tank where they can translate over into some of the slow twitch stuff.
So and then you hold a deadlifting record, which is and I guess.
Yeah, that was a competition I did a few years back, and it was kind of what I really like about the event is that it was kind of strength endurance.
Uh-huh.
So it was basically a deadlift, 300. The competition was 315 pounds on the deadlift. Most reps wins.
Uh-huh.
So what you have is the 300-pound guys that can deadlift 315 very easily, but do they have the wind to get the reps?
So wait, how much were you lifting?
So everyone did 315.
315.
So it was 315. You could
315
weigh
is 3 plates.
3 plates.
3 plates.
So you have the big guys, you know, that can deadlift 315 very easily, but how is their endurance for the rep to do some reps?
And when I played football in college, we were doing like 365, and I could get like 10 reps, but I was always really sore afterwards. I mean, and I never did that ever again
Yeah.
after
Right.
because I needed sports specific.
Right.
So how much? What did you do? How many reps?
So, I like this. It's still, I won the competition, and it's still the existing competition record. So I did 315 for 53 reps.
Ah, it's impossible.
Impossible.
It's impossible.
So
Hold
that was
on.
basically almost 2.5 minutes of
Two-
deadlifting.
Wait,
Which most people can't
Go
really-
through it. Just how many reps?
315 for 53. 50, yeah.
53.
So again,
Hold
what
on,
I was
let's go, give me your dead rep. Show us your dead rep form. I want
My
to count
deadlift form,
how many.
right?
What are you doing per second?
Well, a little bit of longer arms does help, but right down here, I just try to keep that short range of motion. You
Let
know?
me get the camera in here for your other thing. Sorry, we're bouncing around. So what was would be your form on this? It just I want to count 1,000. So 1,001, and then 1,002 for 53 reps.
So I don't even want to do it without weight. Sometimes I wonder how I did it with the weight, but it was.
I don't think
pretty
I
good
don't think
accomplishment
I
for
could
me.
do. Jeez. I'm not looking for people to go out and experiment with this, but
No,
if
that's
you
an
do,
extreme case.
If you do experiment, I'd start with maybe 135 tops. I don't think I can do 135 for 53 reps.
You know, again, kind of what I was saying, there's a factor in terms of the guys that are 175, 185 might have the wind, but do they have the strength to lift that weight? And like I was saying, the 300 pound guys have the strength, but do they have the wind? So a lot of people, which they kind of call like the hybrid guys like me, around 220, 230, have the best chance of living in both of those worlds.
315 for 53 reps.
And I have it on tape if anybody ever wants to see it.
53. I'm just visual. I just don't like that's not right.
Well, like anything, whether it's you have to. You
How
can't-
old are you?
I was 39 at the time, so that
So
was the
6
tail
years ago.
end.
It's not. Yeah, you're still.
So that was the tail end of my peak strength levels. I would say it wasn't until maybe 41, 42. that
You're
I
Drew
really-
Brees' age.
Right.
Is he? No, but I think Drew Brees is over 40 now. I
He's
think
got
he
like
might be
22
41.
years in the league.
Yeah, I think
so
he's
yeah,
41.
He's right around. But
Wow, 50.
yeah, that was.
Now were you sore the next day?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's the kind. Again, what a lot of people that haven't done any type of, well, I shouldn't say any sport, any competition. There's a different buzz. There's a different adrenaline kind of thing. That I don't think I could have ever done that in the gym, like on my own.
Yeah, no, there's
But
a-
you know, having.
That was
other
like,
lifter
years
guys
ago.
and you know.
I ran the Shelter Island 10K,
Uh-huh.
and it was an afternoon run, and most of the runs are morning runs, and I'm not a morning person. But we went with my friends. We took a ride over to Shelter Island. We thought it was going to be good fun to do that for the day. And there's really competitive these Kenyans that run, and
Right.
it's like there's there's money to be
Right.
at stake. And whatever, I'm a competitive person. I got caught, and I just once the race was going, I wanted to get. I'm like, I'm gonna get up towards the front. I want to get a good time. And next thing I know, I started just by the nature of my animal. I was trying to keep up with these Kenyan guys.
Right.
Or my first mile was 5 minutes and 12 seconds,
That's
which
insane.
was the fastest mile I've ever run in my life.
Right.
And then my second mile was 5 minutes and 44 seconds, which was like the second fastest mile.
Right.
And then my leg, everything
roof
cramped up,
came
and
down.
then I was shot
That's
from there on out.
Right.
After that.
Got to pace yourself. Even in doing a 315 and 53, you actually can't continuously do the 53. You know what I mean? There has to be at some point where you pause, obviously at the top because
Right.
you can't pause on the ground, but you have to be able to recover during the set.
So you don't have any sciatica problems or anything like that?
No, I don't have any issues in the lower back, and that's after,
Okay.
I've done 315 for 53 reps. I've done a 1 rep max of 705. I was like a pretty big deadlifter back in my days.
So I just heard there's this new thing, not a new thing obviously, but other people might not have heard about it. It's called, they're also taught for strength training to work till failure.
Right.
Or sometimes we used to do even forced reps, which was after you fail, your spotter is taking
Right.
some of the weight off. Now I'm hearing a thing called form failure, which is you work to the failure of your form.
Right.
Is once your form, what do you is that what you do?
you know, the form does break. I mean, this is a lot of times how much weight you're using, how many reps you're using, you know, that can become a factor. Injury can become a factor, but if you're doing a higher rep set, not necessarily 53, but even let's say it's 15 to 25, you know, a lot of times I find that, and I've trained in that rep range many years, you can actually get away with a little form breaking down when you get fatigued, because as you're also getting fatigued from the exercises, the muscles that you're using are so engorged with blood that it's a protectionary factor. I'm not saying that if you're doing a squat and you feel your form breaking, push through it because you got a good blood flow and a good pump that's going to protect you from injury. You know, there's different levels of form breaking.
Right.
I mean, if you're off a little bit, but you want to squeeze out one or two more, you might want to go for that. If you really feel like, you know, your knee is caving in or your back is really rounding over on a deadlift, then maybe it's time to call it.
Well,
But
did you've done bodybuilding, right? You started, or
I mean,
mostly powerlifting, or is it?
you know, it's funny. When I was a kid, in my about 14, you know, it was a lot of the big bodybuilding magazines and that kind of stuff got me into the gym and that. But I never really trained like a bodybuilder. You know, some people call it power building, where I really focused on certain exercises and improving on those exercises. A lot of the big compound movements, and then the body was kind of a side effect of doing those exercises.
Cool. You know what? Let's take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll talk about compound movements and exercises, and when is it good and when is it bad. You're talking fitness with Pat and Andrew Wolf. I don't know why it's like we're on real TV when we're on the internet. All right, we'll see you when you listen to us again.
I'm gonna do this one. I probably got to bounce it.
Sorry. No, it's okay. I know you go. Hey, how are you? This is Pat. We're talking fitness with Andrew Wolf. And what I wanted to talk about, lastly, is working to exhaustion, form failure, and I am going to confess that I am someone who always believed in getting out of my comfort zone at the expense of form. And I do have some injuries that are imbalances that probably could have been caused by that. I didn't do it with my clients as much as I did it with myself, but that's me. What do you say?
Well, again, like everything else, there's a lot of factors, you know, involved. I mean, nobody wants to get hurt in any sport, whether you're playing basketball, whether you're playing hockey, football, or lifting weights. The sport of lifting weights is you versus yourself. No one wants to get hurt, but lifting weights is a contact sport.
Right.
Unfortunately, in a lot of sports, injury is a part of it. No one wants to get hurt again, but
do you have injuries?
It does happen. I have shoulder injuries.
Shoulders, right,
A little bit on the knees. But again, for the most part, I like to think for the amount of work that I did and some pretty years of some pretty serious lifting, I think I'm a little lucky from some of the things I look back that I've done. But yeah, like I said, nobody wants to get hurt. But in terms of form and injury, without a doubt, there's a basic form on a lot of the big compound movements that you want to kind of stick with. But there's also other X factors in a sense where there are so many different body types.
Right.
So many people get so caught that you have to move this way. But I'm a fan of like boxing and MMA.
Right.
And if you see like the tail of the tape pre-fight, you might have two guys that are fighting at 170. One guy's 6'2", 170. One guy's 5'9", 170. But the guy with 5'9" actually has a longer reach.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
No,
and some these people are going to move differently. You're going to
move. Javon Curse, remember the football player? He called the freak.
Exactly.
He had,
you know, 7'8" wingspan.
Yeah.
You know, again, these people with different dimensions are going to move weights differently. Their bodies are going to move differently.
Was it Michael Phelps, for instance?
Yeah.
He has a very long, and he has a very long torso with short legs. What they say it makes him like a great.
So I'm not saying he's not an incredible athlete.
No, not taking away from it.
But he's also probably, in terms of his body type, prototypical built. A lot of us are built for certain. Even in terms of talking about myself with the deadlifting, I actually have like a deadlifter's body, which are shorter, stronger legs and long arm length.
Well, I definitely
built for that
if we say a football player's body, someone has an idea of what a football player's body is compared to a baseball player, a badminton, all these different things, figure skaters, stuff like that. So you have form failure, working to failure, your injury, shoulders, anything else?
No, I mean, I think it's just in a sense of trying to avoid injury, whether it's from form failures or other things like that, is something that a lot of people take for granted, which is really getting a proper warm-up.
Uh-huh.
You know, if you can give yourself a proper warm-up, you know, I remember a lot of people, even myself when I was younger, thinking warming up was actually gonna weaken me from my
Right,
main
yeah, you
sets.
take it away
And
from.
I was like, oh,
yeah,
I don't wanna
take
do
it-
this
take
because
some
it's
money
actually
out
gonna
of your
take
pocket.
some strength away from me. And all I wanted to do was lift a personal best or personal record every workout. But as I gotten older and gotten trained smarter, you wanna keep your form right, you wanna try to train to failure, and you need to get warmed up properly. And if you put those pieces together, it minimizes your chance of getting injury. Now, there could be one day that you slept funny and your back was
Right.
tight and you came to the gym and you did a set and all of a sudden something hurt. Sometimes you can't predict all of these things, but you gotta do what's in your control not to get injured, which is make sure you're on top of your form. Again, form has some variations, but your comfort zone on the exercise, what you're comfortable in. And really, you know, taking time to get a good 15-minute warm-up, and don't be in such a rush to kind of dive into something aggressive without.
Well, we're basically saying, do your warm-up.
Get warmed up, get on a stationary
Oh.
bike 5-10 minutes. You could sometimes even, the exercise you're doing, just really build it up.
Yeah, it
I
works.
used to
Good,
work
good,
out with
good.
some of these guys, and they were bigger guys than me, and we used to go to the gym and do a squat workout. We'd come out of the locker room, walk to the squat rack, 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plate, 4 plate. I'm in the gym for like 11 minutes, and I got
yeah.
405 on my back, and I'm like,
That was
this
the way
is not happening.
Yeah, that was the way we used
when
to
I
do.
go
was
and I have a
by
leg
plate.
workout, I go sit on a stationary bike for
Uh-huh.
10 minutes. I go do some hips and loosen up my hips and warm up my legs on a light leg pressing, and then I start with a light squat, and I don't do 45-pound plate jumps.
Well, I
Minimum
mean,
is 25. Sometimes I even do 10s. And
when I was in college, college playing, being a college athlete, that's how we went in increments of 45-pound plates. You warmed up at 135, then you
Oh.
went to 225, and then you went to 315 and stuff
Right.
like that. Was the squat. And then this bench press, you went from 135 to 225 to 275 or something.
But like I said, if that's your, let's say you walk out of the locker room, you want to bench 225 that day as your
Uh-huh.
working set. You walk out of the locker room, you put 135 on, you do 6. You go get a drink of water, you put 185 on, you do 2. Then you go to 225. That's okay, but it could be so much better than that, you know?
Yeah.
Because another big part is also working out the opposite muscle.
Right,
So a
your
really
closing
good
side
way
muscle
to
growth,
also,
yeah, is-
first of all, I never understood, unless you have 15 minutes to work out, and if you do have 15 minutes to work out, maybe you shouldn't be doing a compound movement that day that requires a certain level of getting warmed up and getting right before you do the exercise. But if, let's say you have 45 minutes to an hour to work out, and let's say you're going on the bench press, if you start with 10s or 25s on your first set, I mean, you're talking about adding 6 minutes to your workout, and let's say, you do a couple sets of pull downs, you get the whole body, you know what I mean?
Right.
So my warm up what I like to do is 5 minutes, 10 minutes of cardio, little mild total body warm up, hit some legs, hit some back, hit some chest, then go into my specific.
Okay.
So it's 5-10 minute cardio warm up, 10-minute total body warm, little pushing, little pulling, little legs. Then I'll go into whatever exercise mainly I want to focus in that day, and then progress through that exercise to really try to get to a high place.
All right, cool. Makes sense. Excellent.
Try.
Last thing. Hey, last thing.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I just bring
Yeah.
up and whether we use it or not? The thing special needs, and I said some
Yeah,
special
yeah,
needs.
yeah.
It might be other people that have sons of people,
Okay.
children with special
Yeah.
needs. It might be something you'd be able to work out,
Yeah.
and also some of the emphasize, things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Hey, how are you? How are you? It's Pat. We're talking fitness with Andrew Wolf. We have the COVID thing. I grew up with a brother who had cerebral palsy. He was a few years older than me. Unfortunately, he died during our COVID experience. But on to other things. Andrew also has a special needs person in his life, and I don't know if you want to.
Yeah. I have a son, a 4-year-old son who has Down syndrome, and it was, it was quite the experience in a sense. We didn't know during pregnancy, and then a couple of days after he was born, we found out about his condition. It's been a life-changing experience, but at the same time, like a lot of experiences that could initially be taken as a blow and something that you're not expecting, in my opinion, it's made me a million times a better person and a stronger person on many different levels. It's made me a better trainer, it's made me a better father, and it's, you know, you want to give them every opportunity that any other typical kid would have. And it's been a life-changing experience. I'm not gonna lie that the first couple months was quite a recovery process, which is normal, but at this point in my life, I would argue it's probably the greatest experience of my life, and it changed me in ways that I never thought would happen.
You're probably a lot more caring of it. You know, I don't want to say it probably made you a better person in a way, but like obviously you have more empathy.
Yeah, well, it's talking about exercise and strength. There's a lot of different kinds of strength.
Right.
There's deadlift strength, and there's in here, belly, life kind of obstacle strength. And I would say, you know, he has made my life strength, you know, times 100. And it's been, you know, it's not an easy thing. There's definitely some days that are ups and downs, but just like your workout routine, you stick to the plan, you go step by step, and it's really actually like an amazing experience, and I wouldn't change it for the world. You know?
But I get that's one thing. And I you know, I know my parents, when I was growing up with my brother, they were always looking for people that they can identify with that were also going through the same thing.
Right.
So I think that's an extra facet if you're training or if Andrew's your coach, and if you're dealing with you know, children or siblings or whatever that have special needs. It's I know for me, whenever I don't want to say I sought out people, but you know, I do know that there was a bond.
There's definitely a family, when you find someone else in
You
a similar
understand.
boat as you, there's a different level of, yeah, you understand, you just relate to those people in a much different kind of way, because it's the kind of thing you really can only experience or understand if you live through it.
Yeah.
You know, I was someone, to be honest with you, before I had my son, I knew of a couple people maybe that had Down syndrome, or maybe the TV show.
Right.
way back
That was
in,
yeah.
you know, but for the most part, I was just unfamiliar with it.
There was a
know?
show in the early night. Corky was the character's name.
Exactly.
Who's
There's
the first
another show on A&E recently too, called
Right,
Born
about
This
it.
Way, that was also
Yeah.
about that. Yeah, you know, I mean, it's made me a better, stronger person in a million times a way, and even just being married and having kids, and particularly a kid with special needs, but it's made me a better trainer only because I can relate to my clients so well too, in the sense of
Well, yeah, you're
whether
not
they
like-
have special needs or
Right.
not, working, you know, a busy week, getting up early, having kids to take care of. Working out is a huge part of my life, but it's also gotten a lot harder sometimes
Yeah.
to do. And I can relate to my clients that, you know, we do a 6 o'clock workout, 6 p.m. on Tuesday. They got 3 kids at home, they're commuting from Connecticut, they get, you know, it's just, you appreciate people's obstacles, and not everyone is like, you know.
Not everybody's roadway is paved.
Yeah, or has
paved.
this militaristic attitude of no matter what, they don't
So-
need sleep, they wake up at 4:30 in the morning and they pound out their workout, like.
So with your son now, it's Grayson, right?
Yeah, Grayson.
I guess there's some extra variables in your life, and then you have another son
Yeah,
too.
right,
but who's
exactly.
younger.
So just having kids alone, young kids in general, it just has really.
And I guess
Put
this maybe
everything
for
in
another time. I
perspective.
know Andrew has to go, but I mean, I find this really interesting, and I don't know if anybody else out there has, you know, a child with special needs. And then I just remember that at one point, the sad story with my brother is that he was my older brother
Right.
up until a certain point where, like, I remember playing Pop Warner football, and I had kind of learned about like a down and out pattern.
Right.
And he was always, and then he kind of didn't realize that you were supposed to lead on the pass, and it was one of these things that I didn't really realize until, you know, maybe I was in third grade or something at the time.
Right.
Where you know, and I know this is a whole different topic for another time, but
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of X factors in these kind of things where, you know, there's, going back to some of these TV shows that we were talking about.
Right.
Actually, a lot of parents protested.
Right.
There were certain parents that liked they were given exposure
Right.
to kids with disabilities, in this case Down syndrome. But there were a lot of other parents that had kids with Down syndrome that didn't like it because they thought for these TV shows they chose very high functioning Down
Yeah,
syndrome
yeah.
kids. And it actually wasn't a real display of what it's like
Of
in
what the
everyday life for a
struggle,
lot of
yeah.
people. And I think maybe what you saw with your brother is there's an overlapping period where the younger sibling, at some point, it could happen early, just really bypasses the others.
I mean, there is that.
It
There's
happens,
also
you know?
the frustration with my brother with, you know, when I started to have a social life and he didn't. I mean, there's just a
Yeah.
lot, but this is, I mean, I'm someone that's
That could be another hour.
yeah, that could definitely be another hour, but that's just another facet of Andrew and his training. If you do have, you know, a child or someone with special needs, and that's something that you feel like you need to talk about, exercise is a great way to
Absolutely.
vent and
Absolutely.
one of the great things about exercise and as a personal trainer and as a fitness coach is that a lot of people don't like me when they show up, but they all love it when they
Oh,
leave.
yeah, exactly.
And
As soon as those endorphins kick in, everybody's happy.
which is essentially we're changing brain chemistry. But I'd like to get Andrew on again for another time. We'll talk maybe a little bit
Yeah.
more about that. I do have
Absolutely.
a guy who has a wellness practice that works with parents with special needs children. So there's so much more to talk about. We've gone way over on our time with Andrew. Thanks, man.
No problem, anytime, man.
Official Oval Pump.
Yeah.
All right, there
All
are
right,
people
man.
saying goodbye
I
somewhere
know.
there. All right, see y'all.
That's
Yeah,
funny.
that's